Hello everybody, you are watching me from the beautiful city in Australia, in the Adelaide, beside these beautiful trees, jacaranda. And you know, this video especially for you, for my followers on YouTube. As you know, we are saying goodbye with the flowering. The majority of you are finishing the flowering, saffron flowering. Now we are getting to the propagation phase. Very, very important. You should know, because unfortunately, the majority of you think fertilizer plays very important role. Some of you think that the fertilizer and propagation plays 100% rule, plays its rule on the propagation. The rule of the fertilizer, the role of the fertilizer is the near 100%. This is not true. Fertilizer plays only 5%. Only 5%. You know, I don't want to say that the fertilizer is no important, and if even you don't give the fertilizer, everything is good. No, I'm not one. But fertilizer play only 5% on propagation phase. All other factors also important, including the time. You know, when you finish the flowering, how many days you want to stop till propagation? When you want to consider the time for the putting your saffron bulb on the substrate. This time is very important. This is the golden time. How many days you want to have a delay after flowering? Some of you, after the flowering, finishing the flowering, celebrate your flowering and go to the trip, to the travel, and forget your saffron bulb. And 2 weeks later, 1 week later, you want to start the propagation. And some of you, even the 1 month, you know, for example, when you finish the flowering, 1 month later back to your bulbs and they put the saffron bulbs on the substrate. That is a very late. Okay, this is very important. As soon as possible, you should put, after the finishing the flowering, you should put the saffron bulbs on the substrate. Which temperature? You know, the second important thing, which temperature is suitable for propagation phase? Saffron bulbs on propagation phase needs completely different temperature. Completely different. If the temperature be higher than the optimal temperature, the leaves started to the yellow. When your leaves in the propagation phase be yellow, this means you have the very wrong on the temperature. That temperature not should be higher than the optimal temperature, not shouldn't be under temperature. You should provide a best temperature step by step. You know, only 4 months you have the time for the propagation phase. It means in the 4 months of the propagation phase, your saffron bulbs leaves, your leaves always should be green. If, for example, the 2 weeks after the flowering, if the 2 weeks after the finishing the flowering, 3 weeks after the putting the saffron bulb on the substrate, if the saffron bulb leaves will be yellow, this is, you should say goodbye with the bulb. It means you will have a small bulb, or the propagation is not successful. At least 4 months of the propagation in the winter time, the saffron bulbs should be, saffron bulbs leaves always should be green. Therefore, the temperature play very important role. Its rule more than the importance of this rule is more than the fertilizer. Then, how much water you want to consider? You want to consider for the propagation phase. After the finishing flowering, you want to put the saffron bulbs on the substrate. How much water? You know, we have, if we consider 12 months of the year, saffron bulbs only need 4 months of the year to the water. how much water you want to consider. You water for the saffron bulb. If you give the water, consider very low, all the small, because the near the huge percentage of the saffron bulb is the water. If you want to consider the low water, how these bulbs want to receive the volume, receive the weight? How? Only the water determines. But very important, if you consider, for example, if you want to consider the amount of the water that you give in the outside, for example, for the 10 tons saffron bulb, if you want to consider 3 million liter water, because this is necessary in the outside. For the 10 bulbs, for the 10 saffron bulbs, we need a 3 million liter water in the outdoor. But if you want to consider for the growing saffron indoors in your greenhouse, all the bulbs in the 1 minute face with the spoiling, and the leaves immediately converted to the yellow color. Therefore, you should consider the best amount of the water, not high, not low. Both of these factors can at the first, if you give the water very low, your saffron bulb leaves won't be yellow, but the size of the saffron bulbs will be small. If you consider for the for the scaring, for the fearing of the, for example, a small bulb, if you consider the water higher than the amount of the saffron bulb needed, all the yellow, because the saffron leaves, the saffron plants leaves, very sensitive to high water. If you consider, for example, if you are fearing of the yellowing, if a small saffron bulb you give a lot of water, then immediately your saffron bulb leaves to the yellow. Therefore, you should calculate, needs to calculate. You should consider the substrate, the evaporation in your room, the kind of the air handling unit, how much circulation of air you have, which substrate you use, the penetration of the substrate, the amount of the shells. More than important is also your room, how much saffron bulbs you have. These are determined in the calculated water. After the temperature and the amount of the water, now you can see the cultivation depths, the distance between two bulbs. In each hole, how many bulbs you want to consider. These are also plays important role. And after that, substrate. Which substrate you want to use? The substrate that you use is including the natural microorganism exactly that lives in the soil. You should provide. Unfortunately, some of you think that the saffron bulb is the strawberry, is the cucumber. Sometimes I'm wondering that why you should use the substrate that used in the cucumber, in the tomato, in the strawberry, exactly you use in the saffron bulbs. Saffron plant is completely different from the strawberry, from all other hydroponic. And unfortunately, you use the hydroponic way, you use the hydroponic way for the strawberry and the cucumber for the saffron. For example, you use the perlite, cocoa peat. Using perlite cocoa peat is 100% wrong for the propagation phase. You shouldn't use the perlite, or some of you use after the flowering, you use the mix of the perlite, cocoa pot, and full water. The cucumber, ginger, strawberry, they are not sensitive to water. You can put them 24 hours in the wet perlite. But if you want to consider the bulbs under 100% wet on the cocoa peat and perlite, all the saffron bulb will be destroyed. All the pacing with the spoiling. Saffron bulbs is very sensitive to the humidity, very sensitive to the wet substrate. What is the meaning? Saffron bulbs, the majority of days should be faced with the dry substrate, then in the one time faced with the full water. Therefore, you give the water, the amount of the water should absorb, receive via roots, and then should be dry, the experience. But if the bulbs experience 7 days, 2 weeks, 1 month with the wet, like the strawberry, and I have seen some of you use same hydroponic way for the saffron. All the saffron bulb will be small, all the spoil, the leaves will be leaves. Therefore, it means you should have a great trick for this region and find the best solution. What is the best? You should do remodeling. You should do remodeling. You know, the saffron bulb, the base for the outdoor, the base for the traditional. But with the small remodeling, you can provide exactly that happens, and provide in the natural microorganism. Some of you only know, okay, NPK fertilizer, calcium nitrate, potassium sulfate, and then you remodeling. This is wrong. You should define all requirements in the saffron bulb. Last point, yes, fertilizer is very important. You should, in the last sentence, fertilizer is very important. But to be honest, if you did all of the points that I told you, like the water, like the temperature, like the cultivation, the time between the finishing flowering to propagation, if you did all of this without fertilizer, you will be successful. But if you add even the fertilizer, this will be great. Plus the fertilizer, plus this. But if you didn't consider this, like the temperature, like the amount of the light, like the temperature, like the water, but if you focus on the fertilizer, even with the best fertilizer, all the saffron will be small. All factors should be equal. All of the factors should be gathered, not only one factor, two factors. If you want to be successful in the propagation, if you want to have a heavy bulb, each bulb, you should consider all of these factors. For the fertilizer, that is very important. At the first step, you should give your sample of your substrate to the laboratory. How you want to calculate the amount of the fertilizer without knowing that what is the nutrient inside your sample? You should, at the first step, you should mix and with the fertilizer, your substrate, receive a sample and give to the laboratory. Laboratory will tell you which microorganism, which elements you have according to your substrate nutrition. You can calculate the amount of the nutrition that you need in the for the propagation. Fertilizer is important. Some of tips. This is the 5 important factors. Other things like the lateral sprout is also play important role, because you know, with the removing suitable lateral sprout, we should reach. Some of you remove all your lateral saffron bulb, that is equal. You lost all of the sprout, because the new saffron bulb will appear from the sprout. But if you remove all your lateral sprout, the main sprout, how the new bulb will appear? And some of you remain all of the lateral sprout. When you remain all your lateral sprout, even with the best fertilizer, you will have the numerous saffron bulbs, but the weight of each saffron bulb will be small. That is not suitable. Always I tell to my students, to my trainee, to my client, if you have the 100 kilogram saffron bulbs, but the weight of each bulb is the 20 gram, is better that you will have the 1 million ton bulbs, 100 kilogram. Big bulb is better than the 1 million kilogram, 1 million ton saffron bulb, but the weight of each of them 10 gram, 8 gram, 9 gram. But the weight of each bulb is important, not the total weight. Okay, thank you. I would like to share with you this beautiful city in the Adelaide, Australia. If you need my book, you can contact with me on WhatsApp 00989358253945. Thank you.